Okay. Oh, we're live. Okay. Yay. Happy
Excited.
Thursday night. Yay. I'm here with my friend Frannie. I'm so glad that she's here with me. We've been talking all day.
We
Right?
have been. I know. I actually posted a picture of us, our, kind of dress rehearsal, I was laughing because I'm like, it looks like I'm undressed. So you can see that I got myself together for my strapless little sit out in the sun dress. So
Well, it's so cool because our relationship has just Franny's my coach. Like, she helps me. She is an entrepreneurial coach. She helps me with my social media. She's just a wealth of information. And I'm just like, Franny, you've got to come on. Like, hey, Misty. Hi, Misty. How you doing?
I don't
I'm
know
so
who
glad you're here.
here.
Franny, Misty's amazing. She's so funny. I'm listening to your YouTube channel, Misty, and my grown son knows it's you. He's like, is that Misty? I'm like, yes, it is. He knows because she has such a unique style.
Yeah,
It's just so funny. She's like,
I
who
love
are
that.
you? I know. It's
That's
awesome. I love our uniqueness.
that. I was gonna say that's called cornering the market. She's got it dialed into her niche, so that's awesome.
See, Misty, listen to Franny.
Yep.
And so, Franny, explain a little bit about who you are. You wear like how many hats?
I know. And it is one of those blessings and curses, right? That God has gifted me with so many different interests and passions. And then, like, I like to believe that I'm good at a lot of them. So, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but you really do, as we were just talking about with Misty, in terms of we need to kind of hone in and zone in. But I have just, I kind of was born and raised in this big Italian family where you did a little bit of everything. We were just talking before we hopped on here, where I've learned how to cook and crochet and cut grass and then, make wine and then also babysit children and then school teach. And so it's kind of like run the gamut. My background in terms of like my education is that I was a teacher. So I have, many degrees, including a master's degree in education. And then I became an administrator at a school. So from 1997 until 2017, I was actually in a school in an academic setting, either in a classroom or administrative role. And then I left, I had this really big passion, and I hope your audience is okay with me just sharing a little bit about my faith in terms of, that was where the Lord really led me. I was born and raised in one denomination, but I didn't have a relation with the Lord. But through the years, he definitely found me, just like he comes to Adam and Eve, and he found me. And so he put this huge desire in my heart to share my story in terms of my own weight loss. And so we'll kind of dive into that obviously tonight. But to really be able to help other people. So in 2013, I had this big vision for kind of Frannie on 5. Hi, friend. So for this idea of Frannie on 5, and it's kind of morphed since then. And like you mentioned, it has definitely led me to the online space. And now I, help women in that way, and as well as other entrepreneurs who are kind of getting their, kind of finding their passion and just getting creative marketing ideas. I have a background with English, and so writing copy and just kind of being clever and kitschy. And I have I taught English for many years, so I'm like, what about if you tried this, Kirsten? And what about if you I love connecting people and bringing people together. So I oftentimes try to suggest things for you in terms of, hey, what about if you connected with this organization or whatnot. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I shared with so I told you this earlier, Franny, but so I did a post about Franny coming on tonight, and my oldest son, who's 23, and Franny's been over here before, so she knows my family and everything. And he came downstairs and he's like, Mom, I never knew like Franny was overweight. And I'm like, yeah, Bo. Yeah. Cause like you would never know now, but it's like part of your story. And I'm really excited to, share your tips and how you've overcome not only that, but how you've maintained it for over 20 years. I think that's the most impressive part.
Yeah. And, obviously you're in the fitness industry, so, like the weight loss is one piece, and I think, I tell people really, I have like kind of 3 things, and we'll delve into that more. But the first one, I tell people it's kind of, numbers and science, right? There's the eat less and move more, and it doesn't always work, right? Because you can have an avocado, which we talk about, Snickers bar avocado, they're fat, but which is the good fat, and so there's that whole component of it. But really, just to kind of catch you up to speed. So I mentioned I come from a very large Italian family, but I also have a lot of abuse in my background. And so as a result, I had physical, emotional, and sexual abuse by the time I was at age of 8. So my coping mechanism was to go ahead and eat. Like I couldn't control what was going on around me and the people around me. So, but I could control how much I ate, where I ate it, when I ate it. Like it was kind of my control mechanism. So I always joked like Betty Crocker and Duncan Hines were my besties in grade school. Like those were like in Little Debbie, like we were tight, zebra cakes, we were all in. And so that was really kind of like my vice, if you will. And so then I, continued to graduate, those vices as I was looking for something that was going to, give me and provide for me the love. And so it turned into drinking, obviously in high school and college, and then promiscuity. And it just kind of kept maturing with me. And when I was 21 years old, this was the most pivotal point in my turning point for me. I was over 300 pounds. I had already at this point been on Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers. We even did Meals on Wheels. I mean, I had tried everything. I even considered having my mouth wired shut, like my jaw wired shut. Like I had tried and considered everything. And I was tipping the scales about 300. I had been on Fen-Phen, which was a diet drug that was prescribed by a doctor. And he called me and, it was speed. And you guys can hear how quickly I'm speaking now. Like I was like, And so, I finally joined a gym. I graduated from college, moved to Florida, and I joined the gym, and the trainer, leaned across the table and he said to me across the desk, and he's like, "So what are your goals?" And I was like, "To never come back." Like I did not want to work out. Like it was
to never come back.
I was like, my goal is to never come back. And, like you said, like with Bo, like people look at me now because I'm so passionate about it. And they're like, "You didn't always love working out." I'm like, no, my thighs rubbed together. I didn't have clothes to fit. Like I was wearing a size 24 at Lane Bryant. Like I maxed out. Like I envisioned myself like in a muumuu with cats eating Ben and Jerry's the rest of my life. Like that was like my visual. And so he leaned across the desk and he was like, "Okay," this was like the one thing that he asked me. And it was almost like a scared straight, moment. And he said, "If you gain 1 pound every month from now until the next 5 years," so I would be 25 years old, he said, "you will be closer to 400 than 300. And I was like, and I thought, but if I lose 1 pound every month, because I don't know about you guys, but like I can gain 5 pounds in a day, sometimes because I have done that cycle of weighing myself morning, noon, and night, before poop and after poop. Sorry if your audience is offended by that, but I keep it real.
Oh, no, they're not. They're cool.
Okay. Well, and so it was just one of those like where I would go for a run and I would sweat and I would come in, shower, butt naked, take out my rubber band, take out my earrings, take out my necklace. Like I didn't want anything to like weigh me down. But what I realized, Kirsten, was I had gotten to a point where, sorry, there's a car passing. I had gotten to a point where I plateaued, right? Most people do plateau in your weight loss because they eat less, move more. Like, well, how much less can I eat? And how much more can I work out?
Right.
And so, really, it was one of those things where I had to shed the shame. Like I had to, like my friend always says, shuck the shame. I had to get rid of the shame and the rejection and fear and guilt and anger and all of the emotions. And that was like freeing. That was freedom, like pure unadulterated freedom. And with that, with what I lost, I actually gained, a lot back. I gained my decency. I gained my identity. I knew who I was. I wasn't, questioning and wondering like, am I loved? Am I accepted? Am I chosen? So that was really the turning point, so I got into that 70 pounds kind of with, the diet and the exercise component. And then really, there were a couple other factors, and, I'll kind of let you lead that in terms of, how I then continued the weight loss and then maintained it for all these years now.
So let's go back to that pivotal moment, because I mean, your mindset is everything. And so that moment from where you were diving back into, like you would get upset and dive back into food. And that moment when the doctor said, if you gain 1 pound a month, you'll be closer to 400 than 300. Tell me a little bit about how your perspective changed. And was it that scared straight moment? And how did you take that and redirect yourself? Because that's a key moment.
Yes. And one thing I will just, clarify that it was actually a personal trainer. So I want to give you credit and give you kudos, because it wasn't even the doctor. The doctor was the one who had prescribed all these diet drugs for me. I was on hydroxycut. Like I tried everything, like GNC. I would go and I would take things off the pill and the vinegar and apple cider and the cabbage soup diet. Like you name it, I did it, before I was 21. And so for me, it was, I think I all of a sudden now I also have a family member who's extremely heavy. She's had now since passed of morbid obesity.
Oh,
When she
how
died,
old is she?
she was 66 when she died. She was over 800 pounds.
Oh, Frannie.
So I don't want to say I had the privilege because it was hard, but people used to always say, "Oh, you're just like her. You're just like her. You're just like her." And, growing up, she wasn't that heavy, at that point, but I did see myself, like I had a visual. And so I thought, I don't want to be like that. I could see how uncomfortable it was. I could see how she couldn't drive a car. Her mobility was off. She couldn't sit in a seatbelt. I mean, I couldn't even sit in a seatbelt over, in an airplane, like to be able to actually physically, buckle the seat. And so that was a scared straight moment for me too. When I went on a trip to Mexico for a missions trip, and I had to ask for an extension, and that was in 1991. So
And how old were you?
I was 18.
Oh gosh, you were so young.
Yes. And so, for me to think like, oh my gosh. So when you ask about the mindset piece of that, I had to get to the place where I was like, do I want this, and being a teacher, I don't know if your audience, if they're teachers, but, I'm also a coach. And so I help people with this because your brain will look for an answer, right? So just like its own Google search. So when you type something in, when you ask it a question, it will look for the answer. So I oftentimes will ask people, like, instead of saying like, do I want this, which is a yes or no, yes, I want the pizza, or yes, I want the king size Snickers bar. You ask, how will this serve me? How does this help me meet my goal? So that you actually have to like process. It's not just a simple yes or a no.
Yes.
And so I knew enough about the brain, right, and the neuroscience behind it because of being a teacher. And so I would just start asking myself, like, do I want this more than I want to be healthy? Do I want this more? And I'd be like, no. And then, as you know, right, like you start losing weight, like Perry just did his big weight loss challenge. Like I'm sure you start seeing clothes fit differently. And, and being 21, 22 years old, they didn't have juniors clothes back in the day like they do now. Like now they have like the cute little juniors things. And I'm like, I looked like I was a 50-year-old woman at 21 because I was shopping at Lane Bryant, And so that was also like, oh, I can start fitting into clothes now differently. So there were a lot of kind of external factors initially that jump-started it. But ultimately, like you're mentioning, it had to be the long-term, like the mindset shifting. And that's where really the Lord, I use my faith, not use my faith, but that's where God came and found me and was like, look, you have to have something bigger, just like almost like AA, where it's like, I have to recognize I'm looking for something bigger. I'm not married. I don't have children. So if any of your guys are out there watching and you're single, just saying, just kidding. Just kidding.
Not really. No, just kidding.
No. So, but with that, because, I had so much shame around that. Like I had been engaged twice. And so I was afraid that I was going to get overweight again. I was afraid they were going to be exposed to my shame and my fear, my rejections, all those, emotions that I kept on hiding and suppressing for all those years. So that's when the Lord like really got to me. I'm like, okay, if you want to lose this weight, you have to lose the emotion. You have to, what is the emotion that is attached to this? And that's where the mindset works really started working.
Wow, that's powerful. Controlling your emotions.
Yes.
Not letting your emotions control you.
Absolutely. And we eat our emotions. Yes. Yes. And I think for me, I'm such an emotional person. I'm very expressive and very emotive as it is. I've always wanted to be one of those steady Eddie people. And I'm not. Like people are like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. And like, if I'm mad, it. Like you see whatever's here. And so for me to kind of balance that out, and because my cortisol was going high and then low, like, again, there's the neuroscience behind this and the physiological component of it. And I was like, this is not helping me. Like when I was angry at people or if I was upset with people, like when I would get into a relationship, like my thing was to shut down. I'm going to go back to my little safe place. I'm going to go eat a ho-ho cake and a whole one by myself. I'm like, and that was like my behavior. And so, one day I actually cursed him. This was embarrassing. There were many embarrassing moments, but this was a rock bottom. I used to go on Friday nights and treat myself. And I would go and buy a cake from Publix, which is like the Southern, kind of chain of grocery stores. And I would go on Friday nights and I would treat myself and I would go and I would eat a cake like for dinner, like as my, my treat to myself. And one night I remember being so sick and like, I was like, if someone walked in on me right now, as I'm eating like the cake, I'm like, if I was dating someone right now and they're like, what are you doing? Like I would eat whole boxes of like batter and cookie dough. Like I was crazy. So I put it in the garbage and I dumped Dawn dishwashing soap on it. And the struggle, like the addiction was so real. I literally went into the garbage, got my fork, and I like poked around and I ate around that. I mean, I'm sure I ate dishwashing soap, but it was no different than, getting dishwashing in my mouth for swearing like a trucker in 7th grade, because I did that too. So, but yeah. And I see that Misty is saying like, fitting into stuff is like a non-scale victory. Like that's what I tell clients that I work with now all the time. Like, don't look at the number on the scale, because that is not going to, yeah, you can weigh 100 pounds, but I know a lot of women who weigh 100 pounds and still see themselves as 150 or 200. And they also still carry anger, resentment, shame, guilt, depression, whatever that is, there's still the emotion connected to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had mentioned the 3 tips that helped you in your weight loss journey. Number 1 being eat less, move more. I mean, sometimes I think that's kind of cliche, but can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. And like, that's kind of like the, 30,000 foot view, if you will, because, eat less and move more goes again, back to like what you're eating, but more importantly, the emotional side, like you said, well, what's eating you? Like you can eat a cake. And if you feel guilty about it, like if you're not enjoying it and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, I shouldn't be eating this, then just like a dog, your little dog's there in the background. If you came home and he ate your shoes or your underwear, because they love the underwear, then you would be like, no, you would say, no, and you would cower and you would hide under the table. The same thing that we do to our body are physiologically like, and this is a faith piece, but we're made of a spirit, soul, and body. Right. Your soul will tell your body what to do. Your soul, your mind, your will, your emotions. And it's going to say, treat yourself badly, do the cutting, eat the cake, do whatever, the behavior is. And so when you eat less and move more, like I tell people there are some like very, very simple hacks, if you will, like the grocery cart thing is the easiest. Walk it back to the corral. Don't let it hit somebody. Like the more movement you have in your day, and you guys, like we are so blessed right now to live in a culture and society where we have these little watches that tell us like, stand up. Okay, well, that's a no-brainer, use things around you. Use your timer on your phone to say every hour on the hour, I'm going to drink some water, so there are some things that are kind of simple, like if you will, just almost like no-brainer hacks. So the eat less, move more, like you said, it might be a little bit cliche, but that movement, it adds, it's activity. There's activity, movement, and exercise.
Yep.
So, and I always say like exercise is one thing, right? Like, yes, you want to try to exercise as many days as the week, it's recommended 7 days, believe it or not, for adults. But I'm like, the more movement and activity you have in your day, even Swiffering,
anything.
Yes.
I sit in my chair and I'm like, da, 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 because I have like a bouncy chair.
Yes.
I have a standing desk. So like even like little things, get out, walk to the mailbox, walk around the block, like go up and down the stairs, like anything. That movement is something.
It so is. So that was kind of like the first way. And like I said, I kind of got to a point where I was able to lose 70 pounds really in the first like 6 months that I started that journey. Because
in 6 months.
Yeah. Well, let me just tell you, number one, I stopped drinking. I like literally quit it cold turkey. Cause I mean, I could powerhouse. I mean, I was the life of the party, because what I wanted people to see was my effervescent personality. I wanted people to see not the fat girl and not describe me as, oh, that really heavy girl, Frannie. Oh, that really fun girl, Frannie. And like right now it's hard when people, like you only know me this way, but I was like 5 times more of a personality then. Like I would walk in and like boom into a room, because I didn't want people to see kind of the external. And so, that was definitely something that I had to like kind of adjust into, that emotional side of things. But when I started, I say a lot because I would do body shots. I would like, I was drinking a case of beer a weekend by myself. So it's simple, right? It's simple and not easy. I tell people all the time, 500 calories a day is all you need to eliminate to lose a pound, because there's 7 days in a week and 3,500 calories is a pound. Yeah. Now, not all calories are created equal. I can't wait. We don't want to get all that. And I know you're doing some nutrition stuff coming up. So certainly, I think that's, worthy of, diving into a little bit more. But, as soon as I cut out like 3 beers a day or on a weekend, 12 beers, I was like, oh, this is what a size 18 feels like. Okay. Cause I feel like I came out of the womb and I was a size 12, you know what I mean? Like there was no 6X for animals in my world. Like I never did that. Like I just went right past that, So then all of a sudden I started seeing the benefits and I started feeling better. And I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to walk up a set of stairs and not suck wind, which I still do now. Just be real.
Franny, would you consider, were you like a binge eater?
For sure.
Like Misty's saying?
Yep, 100%. And I saw the other, I can't remember what the keto lady that was just on.
Michelle, yeah.
Michelle, thank you. Yeah, like the force, there's like, in your mind, like they do say that, sugar has more of an addiction than cocaine, right? The way that it hits in the fires in your brain. And so there is an addiction. There's an addictive part of the personality. And I'm a skydiver. Like I do all these crazy things. So if I do anything, I'm going all in. So binge eating 100%. I definitely was like, it was definitely a challenge for me because even now still, I have a tendency, like if I go to a wedding now, like I chew gum. And I know some people will always make fun of me. Like they'll see it in my pictures because I'm always like, and you can see a blue piece of Stride or whatever gum it is, 5 gum. Because for me, at least I'm not shoving cookies in my mouth, And then I also have fresh breath. So in case there's a really hot groomsman, I'm ready to go. Like I am ready to make out. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. I mean, not really. I'm just
maybe.
Maybe. But yeah, so the binge eating, really got to me. And it's still, it's still something that I struggle with. I'm like, Lord, and that's where, the one scripture that I first memorized when I first started kind of the journey with the Lord in this was Zechariah 4:6 was not by my strength, but by my spirit. I knew that I couldn't do it by myself. And that's the reason why programs like AA, are so powerful and so popular, if you will, but you need to go weekly and have your sponsor and someone who has gone before you, which is one of my second things. I don't know if I shared with you or not, but like the power of having that person, that sensei has gone before, so in the word sensei literally means a person who's gone before. It's not a martial arts instructor like we think it is. And so, if that mama down the street had a baby last month, you're going to call her for breastfeeding tips. Like there's a person who is one step ahead of you. And that's all you need is someone to be like, how did you do it? Now, not to say that every single way is going to work for you. And here's the thing, you guys, for people who are maybe wanting to lose weight, maybe in their 20s or 30s, they lost weight with keto or something, their body might be in a completely different place and space. So what worked for you then might not work for you now. Your body physiologically is different. There's hormones, there's environment, there's stress, there's relation, like there's so many other things that are factored in. So I hear a lot of women say like, well, I'm just going to back to doing Atkins because that worked for me, which is kind of like the old school Atkins or keto, right?
Yeah.
And so people will say, well, I'm just going to do that. That worked for me. And then like 6 weeks, they'll call me like, I've lost nothing. I'm like, because you're not the same person you were when you were 21 in 1988,
Right. Your body changes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yes, like Michelle is saying here, like you definitely need, a deficit, like you have to, because your body, okay, here's something, and I'm totally like dominating the conversation, Kirsten. I'm sorry. I promise I'll
Randy, you have so much to say, girl. Come on.
I know. And I get so excited about this. Like, I feel like I just want to like go on tour around the country and just talk about it. But I mean, I'm not alone. Like there are millions of people who've lost weight, but I think the thing that makes it different is that like I've been able to maintain it, because I know people who've lost weight and within 5 years they've gained it all plus some back,
Yes.
But by the time you're two, like we give babies full fat milk, right? And breast milk has full fat because it's literally building their bodies. And so that when they fall over, they don't break every bone, right? Because it's, malleable. But what happens is I've even had women who have liposuction and they think liposuction is going to work. And I'm like, no, because guess what? They extract, like with a turkey baster, they pretty much take out your fat cells. But what happens is the fat cells that are in your body that were around since the time you were 2 years old, when you were getting that full fat, they just expand or contract.
Yes.
So even if they
never lose those.
Right. So even if they take the fat cells out, when you put, Snickers king size in, it's going to find the space and place to fill up because your body will expand, to the size in which you're going to feed it. So when Michelle was saying like that deficit, you need to have that. Now, making sure that you don't get the nutrient deficit, you need to make sure that you're, getting proper nutrition and not, because I'll have someone who are like, oh, I'm just going to do the cabbage soup, carrot, lemon, apple cider vinegar. I'm like, no, because you can't sustain that. So in 3 weeks when you're done, you're going to gain it all right back. So
I agree with that.
Yes. And you've heard me say before, no pills, powders, products, programs, procedures. Like I am like, not that I'm anti, and I know it works for some people and hey, have at it. But I like to be as natural as possible. If I'm going to go to France, I want to have cheese and bread. If I'm going to go to Italy, I want to have pasta. If I want, if I want to go and have pizza with my nephew here in town, like I hate when people are like, I can't have that. It limits you. It comes from a space of lack, not from a place of abundance,
Yeah.
that I can have anything I want. I'm choosing not to. I'm
Yes.
in control of this. I have power, not the 250, calorie Oreo.
Amen to that.
That
Amen
does
to
not
that.
rule me,
Yeah. No, we're on agreement with that whole like supplement meal plans. Like we have to learn how to live our life. We need to learn what's going to work with our bodies, and we have control.
Yeah.
Not that meal plan that I depend on, not those shakes that I depend on,
Right.
but me. Like
Right.
I'm going to determine what works for me.
Right. Well, and I think too, especially if any of your listeners or, any of your audience, if they have children and things like that, like what are you teaching them as well? Like if you're showing your kids that, all that I do is eat this, drink this shake, like that's not healthy mindset for them either. I remember being a teacher, and the school that I worked at was an all girls school. And so they were very strict about it. Like you don't refuse food from the girls because eating disorders can happen. And so
Sure.
you would just say, oh, thank you so much for the birthday cupcake. And you would put it to the side whether you were going to eat it or not, which I always ate it when the girls left, like just saying. Sometimes I would want to throw it away. But I'm like, you know what? Like I count memories, not calories. Like that's what I say to people. Now I don't go crazy. I don't allow myself to have 4 Thanksgiving meals, even though I want to. I'm like, okay, I'll have like maybe a second helping of like the healthier things. But,
Do you
that's
still struggle sometimes?
oh yeah, 100%. Like I tell people all the time, like I struggle, I just don't quit. Because the alternative for me is not good. I know that for me, it comes from a place of wanting to honor God, right? Like if this is my temple, if this is where I believe, and I do believe that the Holy Spirit is living in me, why, if I loaned you something, Kirsten, I know you're going to take care of it 100%. And so if God has loaned me this body, how could I not steward it well? Like, I just don't think that it's wise for me to not steward it well. So I'm like, you know what? I know I don't want to have the extra, the 3 servings of this or the whole cake anymore. I'm like, can I have a piece? Absolutely. But you also have to work with what works with your body. Like Misty was saying, like sugar's not her friend. And, if she knows that, and some people, for their joints and for other reasons, diabetes, whatever. Yeah.
I talked to you today about, I used to have a sugar addiction.
Yep.
And I'm a trainer. I work out every day, and I was addicted to sugar. I ate candy corn, jelly beans, Jolly Ranchers. I'd sit in my car and I'd be like popping Jolly Ranchers because sugar's a drug.
Yes.
And the more you eat, the more you want.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, like these little babies, these fruit and vegetable chews got me out of my sugar addiction. And the terrible thing about sugar is it makes you feel bad. Like afterwards, you just feel like this, oh,
right.
You don't like it, but then your body's going, give me more.
Right.
So you need to get rid of it. Sugar is a drug. Chop it out and fill it up with, I like fruits. I'll have like a mandarin orange, or I'll have some strawberries or some blueberries, and that satisfies me. But I like to think of food as fuel.
Yeah.
And so before I put something in my mouth, I'm like, okay, how is this going to help me?
Yeah.
Is this junk?
Yep.
Because if it's junk, I'm just going to have a little bit because it tastes good.
Right.
But if it's, it's going to either fuel my body or it's not.
Right. 100%.
But it's a choice. And I want to kind of go back to your number 2 tip, which is community, because that's kind of what we are here. Hi, Sharon. Hey, girlfriend. We're doing that collab. Yeah. Hi, good to see you on here, hun. So
well,
yeah,
she's doing it
here. Oh, it's so good to see everyone. So
I think Sharon's doing another fitness challenge. I think I'm kind of part of some of her stuff too, because you're doing yours and she's doing hers.
Yeah, so Sharon's doing a 5-minute September challenge. I'm doing a 4-minute. So we're kind of like, you guys do both for 9 minutes.
Exactly.
And today she did biceps and I did triceps. So we teamed up on the arms and didn't even know it.
That's so fun.
It was so fun. Yeah, it was so great. But this is community. And community is supportive. Community is loving. Community is compassion. And community is support. And it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to do without support. There's been a lot of research done that the people inside of your home, if they're not supporting you in your weight loss, it's going to be a really huge challenge for you to accomplish that.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about how community helped you.
So the one thing that, I've kind of had going for me too, as I mentioned earlier, is I don't have children and I don't, I'm not married. So I didn't always have like Fritos and Cheetos and Hostess, cupcakes or like things that oftentimes my friends will have, chicken nuggets and things like that. So I really did get to have a lot of control of what was in my house and things like that. But the community aspect, honestly, going to the gym, like I was at Bally's Fitness for many years and going and having those people literally like, they're like, hey, I didn't see you in class. That was really big, like during the Step Reebok era, if anybody remembers that.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh my gosh. I love it, love it, love it. And so I literally was just like, you know what? Like I would show up and we would do our kickboxing on Friday nights. We would have double step classes on Saturday mornings. Like, so it became like this, like literally just my family. I just moved to Cleveland. The guy I was engaged to, I moved from Florida to Cleveland and we broke up within 6 months of being there. So now all of a sudden I was like, and I was homeless. I literally lived in my car for 6 months from January through till June. And it was crazy. So I had a lot of like the people in my community. I would shower at the gym and I would go and like crash at people's houses Monday through Thursday night and then drive home to Pennsylvania and drive back on Monday mornings. Like it was crazy town. So like I've had a lot of crazy adversity in my life. But with that, the community was key. We started running races together. We started doing half marathons together. It became like, hey, let's try this. And hey, let's do this. And you felt encouraged and supported, as you mentioned, So, and because I didn't have like that nucleus at home to say like, hey, do you want to try this or do this? So we would go whitewater rafting. We would go, playing putt-putt, roller skating, like just fun things. And because everybody kind of had common threads around being active and healthy, it was very natural, ready-made. And then it encouraged me to then go and get certified myself. So I became a certified fitness instructor. So I had Zumba and I had Aqua Fitness and I had all these different formats. And it was great because then I was able to then not only, do it, but then I got paid to do it. So it was awesome.
Yeah, that's key. So yeah. Michelle is asking like tips on how to talk yourself off the ledge when something is tempting you, something that you would want to have.
Yeah. And I think that you brought something up, Kirsten, and was like, how is this helping me get to my goal? And then also too, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I eating this? Like asking yourself that why, and who does this benefit? Like literally asking yourself. And again, I did not have, children or like people oftentimes will say like, oh, I'm doing it because I want to see my daughter get married or I want to, they'll have like these kind of external things. But guess what? After the wedding is over or after the class reunion or whatever, they go right back to it.
It has to be for you, right? Don't you think it has to be for you?
Yes. And the reason why I asked the word question, who, and again, for me, this is very much a faith thing is I'm like, who is this? Like, who is this helping? Like, if I'm not helping God, if I'm not like actually honoring God with my choices. So for other people who don't maybe necessarily have that faith component to this, I would just say like, how, like you said, Kirsten, like, how is this fueling my body? We've all seen the picture of like the 45-year-old man, who's like got the 6-pack abs and the guy who's like standing there with like a beer belly, and they're like, they're both 45 and they're like the choices they made. And I'm like, I've got some cottage cheese on these thighs more than a dairy aisle at Publix. But I'm like, but you know what? Like there's part of it too, that is just physiologically is my body and also, and my workouts. And there's a variety of factors that are, that comprise of that,
So having a buddy, having someone holding you accountable, like I'm just seeing a lot of that, how important that is.
Yes.
You can't have a testimony without the test.
Amen, sister.
The test, empowering, inspiring. And the thing is like, you've kept it off. So after all these years, you've been able to keep it off. And I think it comes down to, it's not yes or no. When you've got the temptation right there, it's not yes or no. It's a process. Okay. Am I going to eat this? Am I going to feel good about eating this? Why am I eating this? Is it fuel for my body? Like I think about that. Is it fuel for my body? Is it going to help me do what I need to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because I know like everyone on here, you guys, we're all active. We're all busy. We have stuff to do, not only in our daily lives, but in our nutrition and in our activities. Like our bodies need health. Our bodies need good choices. So
100%. And I always tell people too, I always tell people too, I love it. Okay. Listening with my daughter. Oh, yay. Great. I love Adrienne and Nico. Good job. Good job. Well, and I think too, one of the things I tell people when I work with them, I actually have a podcast too, the unashamed plug for that, but I tell people that it's not 80-20. Like people say like, oh, the abs are made in the kitchen and, the 80% is diet and 20%. I'm like, I don't believe that. I believe that there's really like a 25% food, 25% movement. and activity, exercise kind of is lumped into that. And then the other 50%, you guys, is how much water you drink, how much sleep you get, what your relationships are like, how stressed you are, your work life, your professional life, your career, your marriage, or, your partnership. Like all of those factors, those count so much more. If I was still carrying the shame and the unforgiveness that I carried, it was like carrying like a ton, literally like a chain, attached to me. Like my counselor said to me one year, she said, you not forgiving the people who, the person who sexually abused me and my father for physically and emotionally abusing me. My dad told me things like, I didn't want you. I wish that you were aborted, like terrible things you should never say to anyone, let alone your own child. And she said, it's like a snake bite. You keep playing that. Let's say it becomes a soundtrack, right? For any of you who have cassette tapes, like, what that was like. You would stop and rewind and stop and rewind. And I kept playing that over. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty. I'm not smart. Fat Fran, all the things that they called me, tons of fun, Chubba Love, Miss Piggy, all those nicknames I had as a kid. I kept playing that. And she was like, it's not the bite that kills you. It's the course, the venom that's coursing through your veins. And I was like, damn. And so I had to get rid of that. I had to like literally, I just swore for anybody who's listening with their kids. Sorry. But I had to get rid of that because it was eating me up. Guess what? My dad, 1, died. And 2, the person who sexually abused me, my uncle, he wasn't losing sleep. I was letting it impact my health. And so often we have these external factors that we still carry. We can probably all remember something that someone told us when we were 4 or 6 about our thighs, or about a uniform not fitting right, or something, that maybe even somebody said, look at your cute chubby cheeks. And you're like, all of a sudden you felt like a little chipmunk, and you're like, oh, I'll never be that person. And so I think that is where we need to like, okay, what's the soundtrack that I'm playing in my head, and replace it. Just like a light bulb, you can't just repair the filaments. You have to replace it.
So it's kind of training your mind not to focus on the past, not to focus on your hurt. Yeah. But I mean, we all have to do that, right? Yes. I mean, we all have to do that. We have to focus on where we're going, positivity. Yeah. I mean, and I talk about that all the time because I have to focus on that too. Because I mean, I know we're hard on ourselves, you guys. Like we are our hardest critics. We're so hard on ourselves, and we have to be our own positive coaches. We have to be encouraging to ourselves. How you would encourage your best friend is how you need to encourage yourself. Yeah. Like you can do it. You got this. You're so amazingly awesome. Like that's how we need to be talking to ourselves, not like how we normally talk to ourselves. I mean, I know I struggle with that too. And I know like scripture helps me with that. What is true, what is noble, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, what is admirable. Yes. Think about such things.
Yes. And Kirsten too, like, and you and I know this, there are some days where like, I mean, I love working out now. Like I don't mind sweating. I always say I sparkle, my business name is Shine. So it just like totally fits with that. But there are some days, and I tell people all the time, like, you're not always going to be motivated. And that's where discipline kicks in. Like
I talk about that a lot, our group here.
Yeah. Which is why it's so important to have that community, because when you're not motivated and someone says to you, okay, Kirsten, where were you in class the other day? You're like, there's a level of accountability. It's someone that cares about you. It's not like they're like, the police officer asking you, giving you a ticket for it, but it's out of genuine concern that someone is, caring for you that way. So I think
Alan has a point. Positivity is big. Hey, Alan, good to see you here. Positivity is great. We all need it, and we all respond to it.
Yes.
I know, like when in life, just going through life, if I'm just like, hey, how are you guys doing? And someone's like, I'm struggling today. Like my biggest thought is I want to like pull them up out of there. Like I want to be like, come on, it's okay. Like you can do this. Like positivity goes a really long way in everything, in weight loss, in activity, in anything, in your job, like staying positive. And again, it's a mindset, it's a choice.
Yeah.
Sure, my day didn't suck, but if my day sucked, it would be a choice for me to either stay up and positive or to be
right.
Or choose that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to choose that.
And I think that the challenge is too, is when you're in those moments, right, is to be able to recognize it. And we oftentimes have a tendency to retreat I don't know about you, but like because I'm single, I don't have someone who's like kind of checking in on a daily basis and things like that. Although I have a lot of friends and my communities are very, tight knit.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and so I'm blessed by that. But I think that it's really important though. I asked myself some questions. I think one of the audience members had asked like, for some tips or things. And like, one of the things I asked myself is like, okay, what would be the worst thing that would happen if I do this? And I hate to say that like it's from a negative place, but I'm like, when I realized that the worst thing that would happen from me getting up early to work out, like the worst thing that would happen is I would lose 20 minutes of sleep or 40 minutes or whatever it is. Like, if that's the worst thing, why would I not do it? You know what I mean? So like sometimes you have to ask yourself like, okay, so if I try this business venture, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then I'm like, like I could maybe not do it. Okay, well, you tried it, but you're going to learn 13 things that you didn't want to do, or you know what I mean? So like, what's the worst thing so I always try to come, because we have a tendency to be afraid of things, right? Our bodies are physiologically designed for, pleasure and to avoid pain and to seek things that are going to satisfy us and gratify us. So we want the things that are easy. We want that, but that's not how we're designed. That's nothing ever good comes from staying in your comfort zone, so.
And we've learned that from this community and from Adrian and Nico who were on, who challenge us. That's why we do challenges like, Sharon and me, and getting out of our comfort zone kind of pushes us a little bit, which is great physiologically and psychologically to kind of push us out a little bit. It's always a good thing. And I wanted to talk a lot about community because so I have 3 boot camps, and we're a close-knit group. And Frannie, I know you have a lot of close-knit groups too. I mean, Frannie's a part of so many communities that you've started, but we hold each other accountable. And when someone doesn't show up, we're like, hey, we're so-and-so. After class, I'm checking. The other girls are checking.
Right.
And when you're checked upon, when someone reaches out to you, that means something.
Yes.
And it's not in a negative way. It's in a kind way. And
Right.
It's in a loving way. Like, hey, where are you? We love you. Like, why aren't you here?
Mm-hmm.
It means so much. And I can't even tell you. And I think Alan said it earlier, like, be kind.
Yeah.
Kindness goes a long way.
Yeah. Actually, that's what my podcast is about today, because we're talking about like, you hear the expression of throw kindness around like confetti, like, but no, like for real, like the smallest little things, can make the biggest difference.
Well, I've included in the description in this video ways you can connect with Frannie. She has a podcast. How many groups do you have? Frannie has like Facebook groups. She's actually, Frannie is doing a retreat next month in Florida, which I'm a part of. I'm going to do some classes there.
Yes.
So I'm excited. Frannie is quite the mover and shaker. As you can tell, she's got quite the story, and she's got lots to share. So check out the description on YouTube on ways you can connect with her, because I mean, her podcast is amazing, just very life-giving. And as you can already tell, she's just real.
Yeah.
And that's what we want, don't we? We just want, let's just be real.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be fake here. I just want to be real.
Right. Well, thank you. No, I love that, because we're here to tell our stories, Nobody.
I love what Misty says here is that you can't be thinking a happy thought and in a negative mindset at the same time.
Yeah.
And I love what's your choice?
I was gonna say, I love that she says she has a bank of happy thoughts. I actually call it my vault of courage, right? Like I actually have folders. I don't know about you guys on your emails, where I have a whole list of folders and one that's like meaningful emails. Because sometimes when you are feeling down and it's hard to pull yourself up, or you don't have a person and be like, come on, you can do this. You're like, I look and I through my emails, because sometimes it's easy, especially for all of your friends who are YouTubers and in the online space and things like that. You see one negative comment or you hear something and you're like, oh my gosh, am I even making an impact? Am I even helping anyone? And you kind of downward spiral a little bit and you're like, I just want to throw it all away, throw it all away, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, I know that I've impacted one person, and I look at my little emails, or I have my little cards. I have a little shadow box like of them. And I just look at that, because like what she was saying, you have to have that, like that bank of things to be able to go and draw from, and then also to make a deposit into.
And I want to encourage you guys not to focus on the one negative. And I'm preaching to myself right now
Yeah.
because, like, the one negative comment, as opposed to the 150 positive comments, I'll be like, I wonder why they said that. Like,
Right.
don't do that because it doesn't matter. Like, but it's a choice. It's a
Yeah.
choice you have.
Yes.
Where's your focus going to be, right? On the positive or the negative? And loving yourself,
Yeah.
that's key.
Yeah. I always think about that Whitney Houston song, the greatest love of all is learning to love yourself, and how key is that? And so one of the ways it sounds like Michelle, in terms of, I think that's Michelle who wrote that, I, for the longest time, like I wear 2 pieces. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, I don't care.
Girlfriend, you rock a 2-piece.
Oh, you're very sweet. And
I've seen you on your paddleboard.
Oh, girl. Okay. Well, it's not like I'm wearing like a string bikini or like little seashells for boobs. Like, I'm just telling you that. Like, I don't do anything like that. But they're more like mom bikinis, which are really like pankinis, right?
They were fine. You look great.
They're fine. But here's my thing is I'm like, you know what? Somebody like, and that's where you learn not to judge other people, where I'm like, my brother will go to the gym and he's like, that girl should not be wearing that. I'm like, she may have just lost 40 pounds and you don't know her story. I'm like,
I say rock it, baby. I say rock it. Like, you're wearing that? Go for it.
If it's a thong, I might have some other things to say about that. I just don't think that anyone should see your butt crack. I really just don't. I'm just saying. I mean, you do you, boo, but I will judge you. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But no, I'm not. So with that, though, I do feel like with Michelle's comment, I think it was Michelle who said that, in terms of, I started saying to myself, okay, these thighs that look like cottage cheese, they've run 15 half marathons. They have bounced babies. They've pushed my grandmother in a wheelchair. Like, I started thinking of the things that they've gotten me to. They've helped me walk, the ruins in Rome. They've helped me, like, all the things. They helped me build houses in Mexico. All the things that that my body did do, and not the ways that it looked. Like, I have fat because you guys, you don't lose 120 pounds, even over 20 years, and not have some extra skin. Like, there's still an elasticity, right? So I have skin that folds over. Like, people have asked me, like, do you want to get a tummy tuck? I'm like, no, that scar is like this big. And because I've never had children, like, maybe if I had kids, I'd just be like, just do it while you're in there, right? Like, just do it a one-stop shop. But I haven't. And so I'm just like, I roll with it. I've got a little bit of a pooch, me and Captain Kangaroo, we're tight.
It's funny you mentioned that because we were talking about you today in my boot camp, and the girls were amazed because they're like, no way, she did not lose all that weight. And I mean, because we know you now,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what about, does she have extra skin? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know, because we've never talked about it.
Yeah.
And so it's funny you mentioned that, because I mean, that's what happens, when you lose weight. And sometimes, exercise and everything doesn't handle the extra weight, the extra skin, right? The extra skin. And so it's up to you on how you want to handle it. So,
Yeah. And I was gonna say, no, I have gotten, it's not like, you see, like, remember when Oprah came out and she like wheeled the fat, like, or the
everyone remembers that.
Everybody remembers that, right? If you were born in the 80s and 90s, you know that. Or if you were alive in the 80s, 90s. And so with me, like, I don't have, like, it wasn't like that because I was in my 20s when it happened. So I've had 20 years, but I definitely have skin. But I'm like, you know what?
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be afraid for my husband on my wedding night to see me naked. I mean, I'm like, whatever. That's all, whatever.
The thing is, we have to embrace who we are. We have to embrace being perfectly us.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. And competition and comparison are enemies, because that's all going to lead us in a bad place. Because when you start comparing yourself, you're always going to lose. You don't want to do that. We need to embrace ourselves, who we are, everything about us, and move forward. We have to love ourselves. As someone had said earlier, we need to love ourselves before anyone else can love us.
Yeah.
And to be the best person that we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sharon just said, oh, wait, no. Sorry, Misty. You say, Sharon, yes, love yourself first. It's the only way you can be your best self. Misty, we're working on those arms, girlfriend. We're working on those arms in the challenge, like today.
It looks like she said she's lost 100 pounds. Yeah. Congratulations. And that's what's amazing too, is like, yeah, your arms, like, you can't expect to lose 100 pounds and not to have some extra skin. you know? And so
Right.
that's when you're just like, every bicep, every bicep curl, every push up you do, you're like, thank you, God. Thank you. Like, that's for me. I'm like, thank you, God, that these arms, I've hugged many people and, one day they're gonna,
Well, and let's build those lean muscles because the muscles really kind of, form your arms.
Well, and that's what I tell people too, in terms of people ask me oftentimes, like, well, what is your workout schedule? And I know that's not necessarily a question we talked about earlier, but I lift 5 days a week. Like I do cardio 2 or 3, but I lift 5. And I tell people like that is the number one game changer for me because
Yeah.
it has definitely like it's maintained my metabolism is higher. I burn fat longer, like all of the benefits of that. And so people are like, really? And I'm nursing a leg injury in my right leg right now. So I'm not lifting lower body, but I still get out there and I will do a rowing machine, like for my cardio and stuff. Like I'll still do some, a few things, but most of the things I do back and lats, I do kind of have like my segmented days and, I have my days, but that is the number one thing. So if I could encourage anyone who's really trying to lose weight, like that was the game changer for me. Besides that,
I love that because I agree with you 100%. Strength training is the fountain of youth. Strength training will reshape your body. Cardio will lean your body, but your body will stay the same.
Yep.
Strength training will change it. I've seen more people, actually as a woman, I've seen more, and I'm so glad you're here, Alan. Don't leave because I said as a woman. But endurance strength training has been a game changer for so many women because it just changes your muscles in a really cool and lean way, reshaping your body and making your body look younger. I mean, when you have muscle mass, guess what? You're going to look younger. 100%. And it boosts metabolism, changes your body. I mean, you can eat more, you burn more calories. I mean, it's an all win.
All win. 100%. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Cheryl's seen our challenge.
Good job, Cheryl. Kicking it real.
Kicking it. Yeah.
She has emotional feels. Good. I hope that this is blessing you, sister friend. Oh, and you too, Sharon. Yeah. I know training, the women that I talk to, oftentimes they'll be like, because I used to teach like a class, it was kind of like a Les Mills, like body pump kind of thing. Yeah. It was, just different formats of different gyms up in Cleveland when I was there and then in respectively in Florida. And so many people were like, oh, I don't want to get heavy. I'm like, you will not get heavy. I'm like, you will get lean. You will tighten it up. I'm like that muscle, like just, it's going to plump, but it's going to lean it out. Like the muscle is actually, shredding. That's why they call it shred. Like it's actually tearing, which gives you that little bit of a plumpness. But I'm like, that's where you see the definition where you're like, dang girl, look at those delts.
I mean, if you look at a pound of muscle and a pound of fat, like the fat's like this and the muscle's like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's two totally different cells, right? Yeah. So when you strength train, you're not going to grow fat. You're going to grow muscle, which is going to deflate the fat cells.
Right.
So you're not going to have 110% of more muscle on top of the fat you already have. Your fat's going to deflate and then your muscle's going to grow bigger. So you look better, you look thinner. And the scale, I'm not a fan of the scale. I don't ever get on a scale. I don't even look. I go to the doctor's office. I don't even look. I'm like this because I know if I look, I'm going to be like, oh my God.
Right.
So the scale is not my friend. I like pictures. I like how my clothes feel. That's how I do my thing. But I would rather be muscular and lean than not.
Right.
So I'm going to keep building my muscle. I mean, we do in our boot camps, we do strength training every single time.
Right. Well, and I have a lot of friends and even clients, people who I've worked with over the years and different, I used to teach 5:45 a.m. from 2007 until 2017, I taught that. And 5:45, 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I love that tribe of people, but I had people who would come to that class and they would be as skinny as this pencil and they couldn't do a push-up. And I was like, you guys, like, people would be like, oh, I was so surprised. One time, because a lot of your people were fitness people. One time I was in the bathroom and I overheard somebody saying, because I was subbing for a class for this lady, Jane, and they were like, oh, it's not Jane. You know how that goes, right? For any and they're like, oh, it's not Jane. They're like, I don't know. I saw the girl and she's kind of fat. I'm not really sure if it's going to be a good class. Oh, I brought my burpee game. I brought my squat thrust. I was like, I made it the hardest class. I don't think this lady sat on a toilet for the next week. I was like, you and your Susie squat going to have a little something to talk about next week. Okay. Like I was all fired up. I was like, yeah. So, I mean, then of course, I go into they didn't see me in the bathroom. I go into the class. I do this class. They're like, that was really hard. And the lady comes up and she's like, I actually didn't know if it was going to be a good class. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad.
Frannie.
I was like,
no, you don't.
Exactly. I was like, no, you didn't. And so, other people were like, oh, she's tough. She's tough. And I'm like, because I am size 10, you know what I mean? Like I still weigh 171 pounds. Anyone need to know? Like, and my age and my weight are real on my license. I'm just saying my Florida license looks really good. Just saying.
Frannie, you're super fit. You're super fit. You're in great health.
Well, you're very sweet. Because, that would be the thing too, right? Like Kirsten and I did, if any of you know, we did the Savage race back in December together.
Yeah.
Kirsten's a few years older than I am. And I was like, gosh, she is so strong and she's so much better at this. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not here to judge if Kirsten is better than me. I'm like, I'm out here doing it. You know how many people are still sitting at home today? You know how many 21-year-olds are still sitting at home? I'm like, I'm done. And I just did my thing. I was like, if I make the monkey bars, I make the monkey bars. If I fall, I fall. I'm like, okay. So
it's turning off the negativity. It's like, I'm not going to allow it, not going there. Train your mind, right?
Yep. And I love that Misty says that she also, did the strength training and that's definitely been, that's awesome.
Misty had mentioned the strength training with the mind body. Like that's real. I mean, the coordination and the conditioning of your body with the strength training, that's a real thing. That's good for your brain as well as your body.
100%. I'm in full agreement.
Misty, I had no idea that you lost 100 pounds. Wow. Strength training will shape your body. Totally.
Yep.
Let's see. So Sharon started her journey in her 40s.
Look at her now, 60.
Yep. You don't look 60, Sharon.
No, she doesn't. That's good. You girls are very inspiring to be able to look like that.
Oh, Ellen's here.
Hi, Sister Ellen.
How are you?
Oh, Ellen, I hope that this blessed you. And you guys, like, if you have specific questions, like put them in. Like I know that earlier Michelle was asking like specific questions. Like you guys can tell I'm not shy. Like I will answer you straight up, real talk in here. And and the other thing is too, Kirsten, you mentioned like if people want to connect with me, if they want to DM me or whatever, they can feel free to reach out to me and just ask questions or, I love voice, as you know, Kirsten, I love voice messaging.
Oh yeah.
To help. If somebody's on their journey, that's what we're here for. We're not here God does not give us pain for ourselves, right? He will use it for good. He will use it to help other people on their journey. So
let me ask you, you said you were at a 70-pound plateau. How did you get over that plateau?
So I mentioned earlier the Eat Less Move More got me to that place. And then the community, kind of gave me that. And then really, Kirsten, like this is where my faith kicked in because I was like, I can't do this on my own. And that's where literally when I started doing the psychological mindset work and I shed the shame and the rejection and the fear and the regret and the anxiety, because like, I'm just going to be real. Like I used promiscuity. Like I was looking for love in all the wrong places, like Friday night, Saturday night at a bar, like even at 300 pounds, this just goes to prove that guys don't really care what girls look like. Like they would see me and they'd be like, okay, we're going to hook up tonight. Like, I don't care. I'll tell you guys real stuff. And so I would do that because it was like, for me, it was like, well, I'm going to get love in one way, right? It was not love. Let's just say that because I never got any with any of them.
Right.
That's when I had to let go of all that. And literally, as I started doing that, it was like, I hate to say it was like it was falling off, but it literally was just like, I became so free that I was just like, oh my gosh, like I no longer carried the emotional energy attached to emotions. And then the food that I once used as a control mechanism, I no longer craved it because I no longer identified with that part of me. I no longer identified with that, with a fat girl. And Kirsten, I'll tell a really funny story because you and I both know last week in a Facebook group that I lead, which anybody, if they're interested in joining, it's free and favored on Facebook. It's a private group. I posted a picture of myself and it was a Transformation Tuesday picture. And so, there's a picture of me on the one side is heavy and a picture of me on the other side. And somebody wrote, oh, you're really fat or you're fat. And I said, yes, she said, is that you were really fat? And I said, yeah. And then I said, yes, that's me. And she goes, wow, you were really fat. And I sent it to Kirsten because she knows this person. And I was like, I was able to laugh. Like I literally was like dying of laughter because if I would have taken offense to that, that would have shown that I still identified as being fat. Right. And I don't. Like you said, Kirsten, like I'm not the healthiest that I am, but I always think like, I thank God, that I'm not where I once was. And so I can celebrate where I am. And I'm like, well, I'm not fat. Like I'm healthy. I can do push-ups. I can do sit-ups. I can do squats. I can run, all the things. So I'm like, whatever. Like, that's
I
not.
think that's the key though. Like you don't identify as that person because you're not that person
Yeah,
anymore.
100%.
And I think all of us are on a journey every single day to be the best person that we can be.
Mhm.
And so I'm not the same person I was yesterday
Right.
because I've had things, we all have things in our lives. So if we can keep moving forward and not identify with that person back there.
Mm-hmm. And that was it. So that was like the third thing that for me was when I was able to release those emotions and heal those wounds, if you will, that I was literally able to just break free. And I no longer carried that weight of the emotions, which in my body manifested in the physical way.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of, I did a lot of therapy. Like I'm very much for therapy. Like anybody who's on this call, like I'm very much for it. I think that you can't go out alone. Like whether it's a coach or a trainer, you need to have somebody. I feel like everybody needs somebody. We are not designed to be alone.
And that's your third kind of tip is don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely. Like, and for me, it started with God. I was like, okay, God, I can't do this on my own. This is not my battle. This is, together. And then also recognizing the need for, again, finding a community. And so once I started teaching classes, when I first started, I had like 2 or 3 people coming. And by the time I left 10 years later, there were 60 people in a Saturday or like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning class. We would run suicides in the parking lot in the summertime. We would do all those crazy things. We would do sled runs and on the track, and it was great. And so I say that because that became like my little family because I didn't have my own family. And so that was huge. And I've always had a trainer. I've always worked with a personal trainer. I've always had somebody, coach in front of me, whether it be business coach, professional therapist. Like I've always had somebody who's kind of helped me, guide me along the way. And I still do.
I always think, be kind to the people that God puts in your circle. So no matter who that is, no matter who you run into in your day, who your tribe is, they're like your family.
Yeah.
They're like your family. And so we have to treat them as such.
Yes, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
So let me see. I have Misty.
Great question, Misty. Did I get a goal weight? I actually was just, I've always had a number in my mind. I've been there twice in my life, but they were not healthy. I wanted to always be 155. And I was at 157 and I was so close and I was so thin. I didn't feel right though. Like I was literally like, I could have passed out, but I was also working out twice a day. I was doing like extreme. As I mentioned earlier, I looked for a vice to fill the void, whether it be alcohol, promiscuity, food, and even the good things. Like I started working out and that was a good thing, but it became a vice for me where it was like an obsession. And then things like Bible studies. I was like, well, I'm going to go to church three days a week and I'm going to do a Bible study and I'm going to read the Bible this year, blah, 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 like all the things. And it was like, even the good things I was trying to fill up. I was trying to make myself more lovable and love myself through works. And so with me, sweetheart, I did not have, I've always kind of had a gold weight, but like for me, like Kirsten was saying, I focus more on the non-scale victories as well. Like, how do my pants fit? Like, I bought a dress last week and it was a size 8. I'm not a size 8, but I was like, can I sew that on the back out? Can I sew that on the outside so everyone can see that? Because I just want to make sure people know this is a size 8. Okay. I'm going to take a picture for y'all because I'm going to a wedding next week and a couple weeks. And I'm going to be like size 8 right up in here. There better be a hot groomsman at that wedding too. Just kidding. I don't think he cares if I'm a size 8, but that's the other thing. I think, that we set these goals for ourselves, but if we know that muscle weighs, it doesn't weigh more than fat, but we know it displaces differently than fat. A pound is a pound. But if, I can weigh 170 pounds and still wear a size 8, I'll take it.
Yeah. And so what Misty is saying here, she still struggles with that identity, because she lived with it for 30 years.
Wow.
But, Misty, you're not that same person.
Yeah,
you're not, and so it's accepting where you are now and knowing that you're not that person anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's what I was going to say is I struggled too, Misty, because I felt like it was almost like reinventing your personality. Like it's almost like when somebody comes out of a coma, they're like, well, who are you? Because for so long, like you identified with this size, with this weight, like there were so many other things, like that this was your favorite restaurant. Like there were so many other attributes to that. So I would encourage you, sister friend, is to really just say, okay, like, so what are the new things that I describe myself, right? Like I'm no longer the big Whopper or whatever, Big Mac. Whopper, Big Mac. I don't even know the difference. But I'm no longer that. I'm now the Chick-fil-A salad or whatever, like those are no longer who you are. You have to leave that behind.
Right, exactly. And just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point, complacency. Complacency is a prison.
Yeah.
We need to constantly be moving forward, constantly bettering ourselves, and not kind of just staying where we are. And staying where we are is okay, but it's a comfort zone. And if we stay there, we're going to be stagnant. So I know for me, I want to constantly be challenging myself, doing new things. You guys, it's good for our brain. It's good for our bodies to always be challenging ourselves, doing new things. And sometimes we don't want to do it. And we're like, I mean, like when Frannie was like, let's do the savage race. I'm like, savage race. I'm like, okay. I did it because I wanted to challenge myself. And I wanted to challenge my clients. And I was like, if I'm not willing to challenge myself, how can I have my clients challenge themselves?
And I love that Misty says that she's worth it because she recognizes her value and worth is so much, she is worth. You're worth more. Like people are like, oh, I bought this really nice dress. It was really expensive. I'm worth it. I'm like, you're worth way more than that dress or that Coach bag or that car you drive. Like you're worth way more than that. Like first and foremost, like you need to recognize that. And so that's why you have to say, okay, like I'm worth spending a little bit of extra time, cooking, really good foods or spending a little bit more money on organic or, a nicer selection of meat or something like that. You're not going to eat like steakums. You know what I mean? Like I'm worth more than do they even make those anymore? I don't even know.
I'm not sure. I remember those steakums.
Yeah. We used to eat those. But so I think that like recognizing like, you know what, I am worth getting up 20 minutes earlier. Like, because if you don't pay now, like I always tell people now, like if you don't invest in it now, personal trainer, food, time, you're going to pay for it later. You're going to be on diabetes medication. Like I'm real talk, y'all. Like you're going to be on diabetes medication. You're going to have insurance. You're going to be in the hospital bed. You're going to have someone taking care of you in a nursing home. I would much rather you now put the work and the energy and the money into it now and invest in yourself. People tell me like, oh, working with the trainer is expensive. I'm like, it's more expensive? Being in the hospital,
sick,
being 60 years old and being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's not life.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So that's, and I'm kind of a real talker, like people, my coaching style is not for everybody 100%. And so, because I'm like, I feel like we sugarcoat so much, we're kind of like these velvet gloves. My friend calls me velvet hammers. She's like, you're like the velvet hammer. Like you lay it down, but like, I'm soft. I'm like, you know what? I love you, but I love you too much to let you stay here.
Yeah. Well, you say what's real. And I appreciate that. And so my husband going through his weight loss journey, he had a couple people close to him have health issues and like right around the same age group. And he was like, it was a huge wake up call. It, like you said, Frannie, earlier, was like scared straight. He was like, do I want that for me?
Right.
Don't.
Right.
And so, before that happens to you, you decide. It's a mindset. Again, talking about that mindset. I'm going to do that because I don't want to be sick. I don't want to die yet.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to be on medications. I don't want diabetes. I don't want to have a stroke. I mean, honestly, you guys, it's real. Like we need to take care of these bodies. We have one body. We have to take care of it.
And I love too that Cheryl has like this goal, like you're saying, in terms of like, it kind of scares you and you're like, okay, like when you get down below that 200, like it feels so good, like, and you're like, okay. And then you set your next goal, like, so she said, like, after that, wherever I get, it's going to be a win. Absolutely. And like, you guys, I even do like little things. Like I'll do, it won't even be a goal in terms of like weight or like a number on a scale or something like that. It'll just be like, okay, I'm going to say yes to one new thing this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like around this month, like I'm going to do a savage race, or I'm going to go and I'm going to try a new fitness format. I'm going to try a Zumba class. I'm going to go and do a Pilates class. I'm going to go and, do a workout with Kirsten. Like, give yourself little small things that are doable because if you're like, oh, I'm going to set to run a half marathon. No one's going to do that. If you're not running a 5K now, you're not going to run a half marathon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So give yourself, okay, I'm going to sign up for a race. I'm going to do a 5K. And then you reevaluate, and you're the one who sets your goals and you're the one who can fire them.
So I'm going to go to a playground tomorrow and I'm going to do muscle ups and dips and tricep dips. Gain Brothers, who are on right now, they're like crazy time. Like hard workers. I mean, they'll go to a playground and they'll just do these muscle ups and these dips. I mean, if you guys don't know who they are, you guys have to connect with them.
I'm going to have to follow them because I love them, but I hate them. Like I really have a love-hate relation with them. I've never met those guys yet.
They're so funny, like how they coach and encourage each other.
Are they really brothers or are they just like brothers, like through like friendship?
Yeah, no, they're brothers through friendship, and they encourage and push, and they just have fun. And it's just so fun to watch. And I love listening to them encourage each other. Because what we say, it's all about community. It's about community, accountability. Come on, you can do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do fitness and to do life alone. And so even if you don't have like a close family or whatever, you have community. And that's what I'm so thankful about YouTube, is that we do have community, and it is so supportive and so encouraging. And Frannie has a YouTube channel and she's not on it very often. I'm like, Frannie, let's go. Let's go.
You know what? I like to do the podcast thing because, as you guys can see, I don't do my hair very often. So I just like to get on my podcast and do it. Okay. Hate us and get the gains. Love it. I will definitely follow y'all. I can't say that I'll like you, but I think I'll follow. So
Misty, calisthenics. Yes, there's always modifications.
Yeah.
I'll always show the mods.
Yep.
Because my daughter is always like, what are the mods, Mom?
Right. My expression is challenge yourself by choice.
That's right. That's right. Hey, that's right. That's right. You know it.
We can call you a gain girl.
That's right. Gain gal.
Oh, Andrew, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you just didn't just for the last 30 seconds and they were funny and cute, because I hope you've been here for a little while.
Frannie, you are funny and cute.
Thank you.
So what would be your takeaway, Frannie?
My takeaway is just, I guess it's to always, like you said earlier, always push yourself to be a better version of yourself. Like as a believer, I know that you are loved no matter what, right? But I also know that God loves you more than anything to leave you right there. And so it's the same thing for you. Like you have to love yourself to say, like that complacency comment, like you have to love yourself to say like, yeah, I'm good here, but I know that I could do a little bit. Not that we have to do more, but I know that I could be a healthier version. I know I can help somebody on their journey. Or I know that there's always a better version of yourself that is waiting to be there, to be discovered. And so, life's not about finding yourself. It's about discovering who you are. And so, I feel like as you move forward every single day, like I always say, move, MOVE, is more of victory every day, MOVE. It is really hard to hit a moving target. So when you're moving with those four letters, the enemy, is harder for the enemy to get to you, right? Because you're moving, you're getting that endorphin high, you're helping other people, you're serving God, you're doing something big. And so versus just, if you're just sitting around on the couch watching Netflix, you know what? It's going to be a little bit easier to start feeling badly about yourself, to eat the bonbons, to do, all the things, the Lay's potato chips, whatever, I don't know, Cheetos, whatever your vice. But Jesus is a gain brother, right? I have a t-shirt that says, Jesus is my personal trainer, because guess what? That is the ultimate personal trainer. And he's got some guns.
Yeah. He sure does. He sure does. Yeah. And I think you've made it clear that he has been the game changer for you regarding the long term, regarding you be able to, because I think most people are like, wow, you've kept it off. You've kept all that weight off for 20 years. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And so your game changer is your faith and Jesus and who Jesus says you are.
Yeah. 100%. Like I reflect his light, my business is shine. And it's like, my license plate says you shine too. Like I'm not here. We're not shining on our own. Like you shine also, and it's so, amazing to be able to come on to a platform like this and to be able to share and hear from other people and connect with other people and hopefully inspire other people and be inspired by others and be like, I'm so proud of you, Misty. I'm so proud of you, Sharon. I'm so proud of you, Michelle, and all Cheryl and all the people, Game Brothers and whoever was on here, and Pal Chen, naturally, whoever's on here. I'm like, I don't know who these people are, but I just hope and pray that if one person gets something today, that we've done our job.
Well, and I want to reiterate the fact that we're all on a journey and that the race doesn't end until we meet our maker, until it's our time to go. So the maintenance phase of our fitness journey, like we never hit the finish line until it's over. Like it's a marathon. And every single day we have to make the right decisions. Every single day we have to work hard. Every single day we have to have goals. Like it doesn't stop. So it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. It's not a fad. It's not a trend. It's not, this little period of time that I'm going to lose my weight and then I'm going to go back to my life. It's a lifestyle that we live every single day, making good choices, having good habits, sleeping, hydration, eating healthy, activity. Boom. And it's something that we all have to do because we're all human.
Yes.
And we're all the same in that. We have the same body makeups, right? And we have to all make the right decisions because we're all human. So we're all in this together. Like, this is not like you're dealing with that. We all have our own stuff, but this is a marathon for all of us.
Amen.
And we're all maintaining. Like I'm maintaining. I'm not done.
Right.
Other trainers aren't done. Frannie's not done. Like we don't reach this certain level and be like, okay, we're done. Like I don't have to work out anymore.
Right.
I'm good. Right. We don't do that. You guys, I'm going to be 85 being like, give me that pull-up bar.
Right. 100%.
I mean, so anyway, I like this. Wait. A journey to the pearly gates.
Amen, sister friend. Amen.
You know it. Does anyone? Oh, hi, Chastity's here. Nice.
Hi, that's Chas. She's coming to the retreat.
Oh, yay. So Frannie is hosting a retreat next month in Florida. I will be teaching fitness there. So if any of you are interested, the link is in the description. Does anyone? Yep. Game Brothers. Pearly gates, man. Absolutely. Does anyone else have any questions for Frannie or for us or anything? I'm so blessed to have her on here, to have her share. She's got a podcast. Frannie's got a lot to share,
Got a lot of hot air up in here. Okay. No, but in terms of the retreat, if anyone is interested in that, I think that, it's not just, there is the physical component, there's the faith component, there's the community aspect, which I think is the most important aspect of anything. As you mentioned, we cannot drive that home enough tonight. And so I always tell people, like, you cannot do this alone. Yes, the retreat is going to be amazing. I'm super excited because, not only is it in Florida, first and foremost, like that's a nice, for anybody who's in the North is going to want to get away at the end of October. But then also it's just like being with other people who are like-minded and recognizing that I'm not in this journey alone and recognizing that, there are the people who are struggling. There's a lot of activities that are designed to kind of show people like that you're not on this alone, And so I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for people to just really kind of recenter themselves. I think after the last year and a half where community has been compromised and being engaged with other people physically, like in person, has been challenged. I think this will be also a nice opportunity for people to get together and be like, it's so awesome to be together, and around other like-minded people who have faith and fitness, and fellowship and fun.
There's something to be said about that, like-mindedness.
Yep.
And just being around people who think the same way. And there's community in that, and there's growth in that. There's encouragement, there's positivity and all that. You guys, we need to surround ourselves with that. We need to stay in a good place, and staying in a good place is surrounding yourself with good people. And if there's toxicity around you, you need to get rid of that. Not only for your spiritual health and your mental health, but physiologically, like our bodies respond to stress. And so if you're on a weight loss journey, guess what? Stress plays a big role in you holding on to that weight, especially in your midsection. I have clients who are like, I just can't lose it. And I'm like, let's talk about the stress in your life. And they're like, well, I can't do anything about that. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that because I think you can, And so weight loss is just so all encompassing, isn't it? It's like,
it is
mind, it's surroundings, environmental, it's choices. It's really a lot.
Right.
It's a lot.
And you brought up a good word in terms of, I always say beliefs, right? The lies that we believe, like when somebody says like, oh, the stress, I can't do anything about that. Well, stress is actually a good thing. Like stress can cause you to run away from a lion if you're being attacked. Like it could be a good thing. Sure. Like it can drive you towards something. that can also, impair you and also impale you. But I think one of the things I use the word, this is kind of a little free coaching for somebody who might be listening, but we have belief systems that I'm not a morning person. I can't give up sugar. We have these beliefs that we have literally learned and we've taught ourselves. And in the middle of the word belief, LIE, is lie. And so I kind of use the acronym of limitations. You limit yourself. I'm not a morning person. Intimidations. Oh my gosh, she's so much stronger than me. I could never work out. I could never look like Kirsten. And then excuses, right? Like, oh, I don't have enough time, to go and work out. I don't have enough money to buy a trainer, to hire a trainer, to go to get a gym membership. We give ourselves these lies and we learn to believe them. And so you have to look and say, okay, well, what is actual truth? Like if you're going to Starbucks or if you're dropping $50 on throw pillows at Target once a month, you probably have the money to hire a trainer or go to a gym. So it's a lie. It's just you've said to yourself, it's not a priority. And that's a tougher pill to swallow when you have to say to yourself, it's not a priority, versus I don't have time. I don't have money. It's just not a priority.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like we all have choices, right? And we all have priorities. And so when someone says to me, I don't have time, I'm kind of like, you could make time if you really want, because we make time for what's important to us.
100%. Right?
Yep. And I mean, just say you don't want it. Just say you don't want to do it.
Right.
Because that I'll believe. But you not having time. And that's why, like Sharon and I were doing this challenge this month, is because everyone has 5 minutes. Everyone has 4 minutes. You can't tell me you don't.
Right.
Everyone has it. And so that 4 minutes can become 8 minutes, can become 20 minutes, can become 25 minutes when we make the choice. Because guess what? It feels good. It feels good physically, mentally, spiritually, because it's all related. Right. Mind, body, spirit. Like I can tell immediately when I'm off balance. Yeah. I'm a little off balance right now because I haven't spent enough time in the Word. And so like when I'm done here, that's what I'm going to go do. Right. It's this whole like balance thing, mind, body, spirit. 100%.
Yep. And I know when you said 4 minutes and 5 minutes respectively, like I actually just did a podcast about this and I was like, look, you have 1,440 minutes in a day. Every single person has that. 1% of that is 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So 15 minutes is 1% of your own day. If you say that you cannot devote time to writing your book, to picking up the phone and calling a friend, to working out, to meal prepping, whatever that is, whatever your goal is, or whatever is the thing you want to do one day, right? Air quote, 1% of your day. I think Sweet Misty was the one who said, like, I'm worth it. You are worth 1% of your day.
Yeah.
You are worth pushing yourself to go and get the thing, so that 1% is a huge thing. And Misty, I always tell my clients that I work with, like, nobody wants your time at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. Nobody's going to call you and ask you to go to happy hour or to a movie. 5:30 at night, they're going to call you. And chips and queso sound really good with a margarita at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon. But 5:30 in the morning, not so much. Maybe a little Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
I mean, I get up, I'm an early riser and I'm also an early to bedder.
Me too. That's
why I'm telling you, I'm snoozing until that goes off, like 4:45 or 5:45. That's when I'm up, but I'm just like,
I'm the same way. Well, that's you sleep well because you work well. Like during your day, you work hard.
So. That helps with sleep. Is being active physically helps you sleep better, right?
100%, 100. I couldn't agree more.
No. Well, thanks, you guys. Oh, this was so fun.
I don't know what you're seeing on your end. So I hope that there have been good comments and that people have.
Oh, there's been great comments. Faith and fitness, all kinds of stuff, because they go hand in hand. And that's Frannie's, that's what she does.
Yep.
Faith and fitness. That's what her retreat's all about next month. And that's what her podcast is about hope and truth and reminding us what's important.
Yeah.
And Girlfriend's a Fitness Girl. We've worked out together. We've had a lot of workouts together.
Yeah, you have to go look on her Instagram page and see we've done a couple workouts. And we're going to do one soon. We're going to do one next week when we see each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys get to see I still wear my leggings. I've got my camouflage leggings on right now. So I still wear my fitness gear.
I love that. I love that. I've got shorts. I got my slippers on. Look, I'm all.
Hey, you're good. You're good.
I'm all comfy cozy over here.
I love it. Love it. And hey, just anyone who is interested, there is a special offer through this weekend. This is the last time. So there are two things you can do. One, you can do a full-time payment and it's $100 off right now. The whole weekend is all inclusive for anyone who's interested in coming to the retreat in Florida. It's an hour east of Orlando. And so it is $100 off right now for y'all if you watched. And then also there's a 2-payment option, which will expire as of this Sunday. So the 2-payment option goes away because obviously we're, almost a month out from the retreat. So it's 30 days. You'll pay one half now, and then 30 days from now you would pay. It's all inclusive. It includes your food and the lodging for the entire weekend. It's on the water in Florida. You can't beat it.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. We're going to have, I'm so looking forward to it.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be.
Again, it's fitness, it's faith, and it's fellowship.
Yep. So. Yep. We have massages. We got lots of fun things. So come. Even the Gain brothers can. Well, I don't know if they can come, but
yeah, we'll invite the Gain brothers.
Yeah. We'll be next year's retreat. I don't know if the women. I don't know if the accommodations would allow for kids sleeping.
That's true.
Unless any of the Gain brothers are gainfully single, then it's a whole other story.
I'm not sure about that. We'll have to ask them, Frannie.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. So.
Well, this was fun. Frannie, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much.
I love you, girl.
I love you too, sweet sister. Thank you. And I pray that everybody has a great night and that God's favor continues to shine upon them and as they, seek him in their health journey.
Thanks, Frannie. Good night, you guys. Have a good night. Thanks
for being here. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.